Life is scary when you quit your job and literally nobody noticed. Life is scary when you wink at your crush as you pass by your desk, only to realize that you have toilet paper stuck to your heel. Life is even scary when it's your first date and you really need to fart. Now we all deal with Sunday scaries, right? That oh crap, stressful, nervous, can't sleep, dread feelings that hit you on Sunday evenings when you think about work or school the next day, or life in general. Unfortunately, you can feel that same pit in your stomach any day of the week. Sunday Scary CBD gummies were made to defeat the crap life throws at us. These are the perfect CBD gummies for professionals on the grind, supermoms, students, party animals, regretful drunk texters, and everything in between. Now me personally, I don't relax very well. I've never been someone who can just sit down and chill out. I always feel like I need to be doing something, whether that is work-wise or at home. It's just hard to shut off my brain and chill. While that can be positive in some ways, it also makes me overthink and stress myself out. Sunday Scaries are vitamin-boosted CBD gummies that actually work and they chill me out fast. Look, we all have the right to live scare-free. So whether you need to take the edge off, calm your racing mind, or sleep better, or just chill, take 2 CBD gummies every day to keep the scaries away. Let me save you with my 25% discount. Visit sundayscaries.com and use my promo code MrCreeps for your discount. That's sundayscaries.com, promo code MrCreeps for 25% off. I've been a cop for almost 3 years now. Every day, my alarm chimes at exactly 10 o'clock. I head to the gym, shower, prep my meals for the day, and head to the station to work the evening shift. If it's the weekend, I may hit the bars after work with my shift, but otherwise, this job is my life, for better or worse. They warned us in the academy that the job can change you, and that you'll lose most of your family and friends. Sometimes the loss is from a difference in political views. Sometimes it's from a lack of free time. And sometimes from our short-tempered bursts due to extreme burnout. But whatever the reason may be, those people aren't easily replaced. The job consumes your entire being and prevents you from meeting new people who aren't other cops. And wouldn't you know, it didn't even take 3 years before my instructor's words rang true. Well, besides for Ethan. Ethan and I have been friends since 1st grade, and even my odd sleep schedule, extreme exhaustion, and lack of ability to schedule just about any plans, he never wavered. I was a quiet kid, but Ethan wasn't. He always saved me a seat on the bus, and even though I didn't know the kid, I was always excited to have somebody to sit with. As time went on, he made more of an effort and I opened up from my shell. One day in high school, during lunch, I remember asking him why he always saved me a seat, expecting him to tell me he wanted to be friends or he liked my lunchbox or some other stuff. Ethan lifted a sandwich from the iconic red tray and took a bite of it before telling me, "The kid that stopped after you smelled like straight fish sticks and I needed to make sure that he didn't sit with me." That's Ethan for ya. He wasn't popular by any means, but he never lacked confidence or integrity. He quickly became my most trusted person. At least he was. We've talked every single day for the past 10 years. If it isn't texting, we're constantly sending each other Snapchats or links to videos. He's like a brother to me. Heck, he just asked me 2 weeks ago to be the best man at his wedding. I was stoked about it, and not just because I wanted to plan a trip to Vegas or Nashville, but because I really liked his fiancée. I've known her since college, and she's just the chillest girl ever. They had recently bought a house together, a small cottage-style yellow house that I grew up calling the Matilda House. There were always rows of brightly colored flowers and a small white picket fence that was just high enough to still allow you to see the flowers in the front stoop. I was actually excited when they bought it so that I could finally see the inside, to compare if it was anything like I had ingrained it in my head like the movie. But now I pray that I never have to step foot in that house again. It was around 10 p.m., nearing the end of my shift. It had been an eerily quiet night. I was just finishing my last sip of gas station coffee when the call went out, and the disruption to the silence was such a startle that I spit some of my coffee out, and it dribbled down to my radio mic. As I went to reach for a napkin, deja vu had struck me. Maybe I'm just messy and use a lot of napkins, but it was so strong I even knew the dispatcher was about to send me priority. So much so that before she had finished calling on my badge, my finger was on the switch. "Dispatch to 822, she called out. 822, go ahead. I responded, finger still hovering. Head to 344 Redacted Lane for a 911 hang-up. Dispatch heard loud screaming prior to the hang-up. Priority authorized. It's not often we get priority authorized in this small town, so I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little pumped to flick on my lights and hear the siren flood the empty streets as I made my way toward the call. It took me about 4 seconds before the shock of adrenaline waned enough to recognize the address. It was Ethan's house. I arrived on scene and the front door was slightly ajar. In any other house, my hand would have been on my gun, if not pulled out and down to my side. But this was my best friend, family. Within an instant, all police protocol leaped from my brain and was replaced with concern. I pushed open the door and yelled, "Ethan, Lauren." No response. I turned the corner and looked up the stairs. Blood was smeared all over the walls, wrapping around the furthermost side and into the kitchen. There was a pool of it lying on the kitchen floor. The top of my boot splashed in it before I could stumble backward. "Jesus Christ," I muttered. I followed the red trail up the stairs to their bedroom. There is no way that somebody lost this much blood and was still alive. As soon as the thought had escaped my mind, I drew my weapon. I forced the bedroom door open with my boot, leaving a small new stamp of blood on the crisp, white door that was already splattered with droplets. Ethan was curled up in the corner of the room, grasping onto a knife. He was wide-eyed and jaw-clattering. He was unrecognizable. "Ethan, what the?" As I went to offer him help, my police senses caught up with my civilian emotions. He was covered in blood, and not just him, but the knife too. 822, do you copy? I physically shook my head to try to get my crap together. I held my gun in one hand and lowered. May 22 negative. What? I asked dispatch. 822, 934 is entering the premise. Where do you want him? My sergeant was on the scene. Upstairs, first door on the left. 1. I hesitated. Do I call him a suspect, a victim? One individual with a knife. Stand down. I released my mic and looked at Ethan. Ethan, man, you gotta drop the knife. He took a deep breath and held it. I repeated, drop the knife. He released the knife in his lungs simultaneously and let out a sob that still shakes me to even think about. As I grabbed the knife, my sergeant approached behind me and then I realized it asked, Ethan, where's Lauren? The rest is a blur in my mind. As soon as the sergeant arrived, I forced my mind and my body to enter cop mode, as I call it. Similar to autopilot, it's a nearly robotic function we use to hinder our personal emotions so that we can physically complete the task at hand without letting our emotions completely cripple us to a point of danger. People may complain that cops are emotionless, but do you want somebody shaking and crying when they run into your house to save you from a gun-wielding robber? I remembered every detail long enough to log into my police report. But now, the adrenaline dump had set in. If you asked me what I wanted to eat, I wouldn't be able to respond. I am incapable of the simplest, most decision-making abilities following removing my 40 pounds of gear. I'll tell you this, Ethan admitted to stabbing Lauren. He said that she was gone and that this wasn't the first time. I was the one to place the handcuffs on him, and I'll never get that image out of my head. I'm sad that I lost my best friend. I'm sad that I lost his fiancée, an incredibly close friend of mine. I hate myself for not having seen the signs. I'm disgusted by caring so deeply about this guy who I considered family could be so horrible. And I'm angry, so angry at Ethan. I lied there trying to quiet the anxiety storm that was torpedoing my mind out of my sleepless state. I wanted to forget everything. I took a few deep breaths. But then I remembered something. The instant the storm in my mind even remotely had paused, I could remember. Ethan whispered something to me as I walked over to grab the knife that he had dropped. Halliwell, you were right. Halliwell, it's familiar, but I can't place it. I close my eyes. Halliwell, Halliwell. My eyes jolt open. Our 8th grade English teacher. But why? What did that mean? It felt like I was never going to get sleep, but at some point, I eventually just simply shut down. No other way to put it. I woke up today and couldn't shake the last thought that I had. Halliwell's class. I knew my mom incessantly kept all of my schoolwork, labeled with the label maker she asked her on Mother's Day how many years ago. I drove over to her house and dug out my 8th grade tote. I flipped through some book reports from summer reading assignments, nothing that Ethan had ever set his eyes on. I found a few tests, Romeo and Juliet, grammar, creative writing. I failed the Romeo and Juliet test. Definitely nothing I was right about there. And grammar doesn't seem very murdery. But there it was, my creative writing assignment that I presented to the class. The only thing that I ever got an A on. It was inspired by a compilation of late-night Harry Truman Show rewatching and Twilight Zone binging. I basically wrote an entire essay on how our lives are predetermined and out of our control, but not for a greater being, but rather due to the need to keep an equilibrium of parallel planes or universes. It was titled, It's All a Setup. And there it was, 3 paragraphs from the conclusion. Unexplained phenomena such as UFOs, moms magically lifting cars, or even perfectly sane people committing murder are a result of this life as we know it, counteracting a glitch in the parallel. It's when deja vu hits the hardest. I knew that I had to meet with Ethan. My first shift back, I held myself out and headed to the jail. Luckily, one of my old academy mates was working the cells that night. "Hey, Sheriff Edwards, long time no see," I said sarcastically. Officer Wharton had been a whole 2 days already. He smirked. "I'm actually here to follow up on a murder case. Ethan, redacted. Can you find us a room to chat in?" He took a shallow breath and glanced to the side. "Man, we're kinda busy tonight. Full moon, you know how that stuff goes. The only room we have doesn't have the fancy recording cameras and audio. Just normal surveillance." "Perfect," I said, and I meant it. Ethan shuffled into the room and sat down as the sheriff secured his wrist to the table. He looked frail and he looked absent. Once we were alone, I asked, "What did you mean about Halliwell?" He slowly lifted his head, gaze meeting my own. "You were right." "Right about what?" I asked. He shook his head, almost in confusion. "There has to be a glitch. I don't understand." His voice grew shaky. Take a deep breath, I said. He inhaled. Start from the beginning. I'm listening. He released his breath and said, I was in the kitchen and suddenly I had the most intense deja vu that I've ever had. I was cutting an orange to make an old-fashioned, and the instant that I smelled the orange, it all hit me. Not only did I feel like I already lived this, but I was absolutely sure that someone was about to break into my kitchen and kill me. His hand shook. I knew that he was craving a cigarette. Not that he was a smoker per se, but smoked when he had wanted to. And boy, did he want to. He continues, I grabbed that knife like my life depended on it, and no sooner did I hear that sliding door creak open. Was it Lauren? I asked. No, yes. I don't know. It was faceless. I just knew that my life was in danger. Dude, I freaking knew it. I took the knife and I stabbed them. Whatever it was. I tried my best to follow, but he wasn't making much sense. Ethan, are you saying that you thought that Lauren was an intruder? Yes, I guess, but then suddenly I could see her. It was Lauren. As soon as I saw her face, I tried to hold her. But then she ran toward these stairs, and when she turned around, it wasn't her anymore. Ethan bent down so his cuffed hands could rub his eyes. It was a glitch. There's no other way to describe it. Where is Lauren now? I asked. He shook his head and his eyes widened. I don't know, God's honest truth. She was in front of me and then she just vanished. This wasn't the Ethan that I knew. He sounded so unreliable. He had lost all his confidence. How many drinks did you have before this happened? One. And you know one doesn't do crap to me, Nick. He was right. I knew that one old-fashioned wouldn't even faze him. All right, well, is there anything else that you had? Anything that we're missing here? His eyes finally locked with mine. I don't know anymore. I've lost total concept of reality. I don't even know if you're you right now. Is he having a mental breakdown? I didn't know what to think about my meeting with Ethan. Sure, some questions were answered, but so many new ones were raised. All I could do now was look at the evidence. The blood samples and fingerprints would take a while to get back to us. The labs are so backed up, and it's been that way for as long as anybody can remember. Next, I decided to look into the crime scene. Even though the Matilda house had always been a fascination of mine, I never had access to police records until working here. I wondered if there had been a string of breaking around the neighborhood or a history at the house. What I found next was unsettling. Sure, there was a break-in through the kitchen door before. Heck, it was even at the exact same minute of the day. But here's the thing. It happened 7 years ago. The previous owners who had the house had somebody break in and attack the husband who was standing in the kitchen. The wife was out of town at the time. I was shocked that I hadn't heard of this being such a small town. But it turned out the intruder was an estranged son-in-law, and luckily nobody had died. But only because the owner was able to subdue the attacker, his son-in-law, by restraining him until the police had arrived. There was one news article at the time which even said that he must have had a guardian angel in his side that night, since his son-in-law had a gun in his possession and every intention of using it. But the owner had such a hold on him that he couldn't reach it. I pulled out my old essay yet again to look for anything else that could have made Ethan latch onto, and there it was towards the end. But sometimes our deja vu moments can be echoes. Echoes of history, echoes of energy, or even echoes of vibration. Energy can be neither created nor destroyed. So where does it go? It's in a loop. And sometimes those loops crinkle like a garden hose. I was still wrapping my head around my own words, as if written by an entirely different person when my phone had buzzed. "Call me." It was Ethan's mom. I immediately called her and all she could say was, "She's here." "Who?" I asked. "Lauren." I imagined her body decomposing in their yard or perhaps their basement. I couldn't stop myself from wondering, did she smell? Where was her body? Why are you calling now? But then I heard the faintest little thing say, "Nick?" It was Lauren, alive. Jesus Christ, whose blood is in that house? I showed up to Ethan's mom's house to find Lauren sitting on the front porch waiting for me. "Lauren, how are you?" I asked with genuine concern. "I'm fine. I honestly have no idea how this all spiraled so out of control." She shook her head. "I took a brief girls' trip and by the time that I came back, Ethan was..." She held up her hands as if to say that she had no idea. "He was in jail, like how?" "He said that he stabbed you." "What happened between you two?" I asked. She looked shocked. "Stabbed me? He gave me a hug goodbye and said that he was going to have his own boys' night, and made some corny joke about Jack Daniels being the other guy. He didn't hurt me, not at all." "I don't know how to tell you this, but there was blood in your house." I tried to spare the detail of just how much. "I know. It was there when I got home, so I called Ethan's cell phone, and his mom had picked up and told me everything. I hired cleaners, but I'm staying here for a while." We talked for a short while longer. She told me how she and Ethan had no problems. He had no history of mental illness or blackouts, and she had no idea why he would say that he had stabbed her. Sadly, it would still be weeks before we got the blood results back, but for now we have no victim, dead or alive. Ethan could have slaughtered a pig for all we know, but for now we had enough to get him out of jail. He came over to his mom's house once he was released, and after a long embrace with Lauren, I headed to the front porch to talk with Ethan once more. "Ethan, what happened, man?" He bent over and rested his hair in his palms. "I wish I knew." He repeated to me the same story that he had told me earlier. He thought somebody had broken into his house to kill him, and it kept jumping between Lauren's face to someone or something else. We won't know for a few weeks or perhaps months whose blood was in that house. And even then, if the DNA isn't in our system, then it'll remain unknown. There's no crime for holding a knife in your own house though, right? I don't know what the heck went on that night, but Ethan only had one final thing to say to me. Gathering his thoughts, he said, "Just to take a look at your essay. It's stuck with me all these years." So I walked out to my truck, grabbed my essay, and we sat together watching the rain roll in on the chilled January night. It happens to everyone, just in different ways. Some of us will simply experience deja vu as we eat our morning cereal, while others will experience life-changing phenomena. But we all will experience an echo at some point or another. In 1842, Julius Robert Mayer discovered the law of preservation of energy. More simply put, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. E equals mc squared. Albert Einstein discovered that mass and energy are interchangeable. This means that everything, including humans, are energy stored in mass, particle form. Therefore, humans may neither be created nor destroyed. So where does our energy go when our hearts stop pumping red fuel throughout our veins? Well, it's simple, really. We become a higher existence of energy. Much like a potato has the ability to light a bulb, in the right environment we have the ability to light a room as well. Echoes are generally harmless as they are simply residual energy. I say generally because at times there can be a glitch. Think about your grandmother's favorite lamp. It has hand-painted flowers wrapped around a glass base. You have to find classic incandescent bulbs since it won't even work with fluorescent. When you reach for the cord, it's a creamy eggshell color, although at one time it was white. As you turn the dial to click it on, you have to stop at precisely the right click, or else it shuts right back off if you flip it too far. Sure, this lamp is well loved and beautiful, no doubt, but it only survives and lasts under the most precise conditions. The right bulb, the right flick of a switch. But one day, even as you do everything right, the bulb blows a fuse and poof, it's broken. Sometimes our world has a glitch. Maybe we didn't use the right bulb that day, or we neglected to turn the switch just right. That's when you can hear the voice whispering softly into your ear that something is wrong and you need to follow your true path. My mom had a friend who almost went to college, but instead she became a hairdresser. Everybody gave her such a hard time, but all she could say was that she did what she knew she was meant to do. Sure, people thought that she was a hippie and that she took an easy way out. But when she became a six-figure hairdresser with the perfect husband and kids, meanwhile their other friend went to college only to wind up divorced and an alcoholic, who's to say that we can't hear our own paths? There is another type of glitch though, one more sinister. Sometimes we listen just perfectly and we do everything exactly to plan, but a fuse is still blown. Maybe there was a leak in the electric box out of our control, or a storm came through. These glitches are unpredictable and can manifest echoes. Unexplained phenomena such as UFOs, moms magically lifting cars, or even perfectly sane people committing murder are a result of this life as we know it, counteracting a glitch in the parallel. It's when deja vu hits the hardest. But sometimes our deja vu moments can be echoes. Echoes of history, echoes of energy, or even echoes of vibration. Energy can be neither created nor destroyed. So where does it go? It's in a loop. And sometimes those loops crinkle like a garden hose. I've seen it happen, you know. Well, not yet, but I know I will one day. And I'll use this essay to prove it. Remember those New Year's goals that you promised yourself you would stick to? HelloFresh is here to help you eat better by delivering fresh ingredients and easy recipes right to your door, taking the hassle out of dinner time. HelloFresh makes it easy to eat well and save money. Cut back on expensive takeout and delivery and get started with HelloFresh. You'll love how fast, easy, and affordable it is to whip up a restaurant-quality meal right in your own kitchen. HelloFresh also now has 40 weekly recipes to choose from, so you can say bye-bye to your recipe rut and treat yourself and your family to exciting new flavors every week. Plus, no matter your lifestyle or meal preferences, HelloFresh has recipes sure to please everybody at your table. For me, when I'm busy getting lost in a story, I always find myself losing track of time and scrambling around dinner trying to think of something to make. With HelloFresh, it makes it easy for me to follow the recipe card and to have a delicious meal ready to eat in under 30 minutes. Recently, my favorite has been the creamy chive chicken. Say that 3 times fast. Also, Green Chef is now owned by HelloFresh, and with a wider array of meal plans to choose from, there's something for everyone. I love switching between the brands, and now my listeners can enjoy both brands at a discount with me. To get started, go to hellofresh.com/MrCreep65 and use code MrCreep65 for 65% off plus free shipping. Again, that's hellofresh.com/MrCreep65. Use code MrCreep65 for 65% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.